Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Benchwarmer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Protection Warrior. We're going to cover all things included: hero talents, what I like about the class, where I think it'll sit in the meta, and also, is it fun to play? And before we start, just a real quick mention to the bench. Discord link in the description box down below. The bench is all about a place where we're trying to build a community of players that love talking about WoW, are okay with helping others that may be new to playing WoW, and gathering a whole bunch of bench warmers like me. So the bench is all about bringing players together to talk about that and just have a bit of fun in the meantime. So with that being said, let's charge right into the Protection Warrior. So when I started this whole idea of I want to tank this expansion, and I've covered healers and DPS in high-end Mythic Raid and Mythic Plus content in the past on this channel, I've never covered tank. And throughout the entirety of the history of me playing since the middle of Burning Crusade, the first one, I've never really covered tanks that much. So I said, this is the time to do it. And when I looked at the list of tanks, the Warrior really sort of jumped out at me, almost heroic leaped out at me, because it seems like those tanks that's very easy to start with, very easy to play, and is fun. And when I picked it up and played it on the beta in Mythic Plus testing, I wasn't surprised, because it was exactly that. And as a plus for the channel, we're looking at people that don't have a lot of time. If they ever wanted to try tanking, the Protection Warrior is one of those ones that it will be very easy for you to pick up, even if you didn't have any idea about tanking, which pretty much is me. And I want to talk about all of its toolkits, what I really like about it, where I think it'll fit in the expansion, and also where, if we did a tier list, where it would sit. So let's start off with the toolkit. So when you're looking at the abilities of enemies in Mythic Plus or in Raiding, you want to have a tank that can stay alive, can survive through the content, and has pretty good self-healing. The Warrior ticks all of those boxes. When it comes to defensive toolkits, you have everything. You have physical defense, and also you have spell defense. And when you're looking at those abilities, there are not a shortage of them. You have Last Stand, Shield Wall, Spell Block, Ignore Pain, Shield Block, and a few more that I've not mentioned that just cover everything. And that's what I really like about the Protection Warrior. It has something to combat almost anything. But not only do you have a huge defensive toolkit, probably the most out of any tank, you have so much utility, not only for yourself, but also your party. You have Battle Shout, increases the attack power of everybody in your radar party by 5%. So melee players are going to love you. You have, and something we covered in the last video, the problem that we have with a lot of Mythic Plus content in the new expansion is you have a lot of enemies that bounce around. And there are certain tanks that really struggle with raining everything to get back towards the aggro onto you. And some tanks I really struggled. With a Protection Warrior, I didn't struggle. I had Charge, I had Heroic Leap, I have Demoralizing Shout, I had Challenging Shout to bring everyone back to me. It's basically you just screaming at your enemies, telling you to focus on you, and I love that. You have Shockwave, you have Thunderclap. There's so much in this class, and I absolutely love it. And if you can't tell by my enthusiasm, it's one of those ones that I'm going to really consider playing in the War Within, because it just has everything. Now let's heroic leap into hero talents. Now, something I've been saying throughout the entirety of this video is that the Protection Warrior just works. You like pressing the buttons, it's fun to play, and it's nice to play. The hero talents work exactly around that. It's not encumbersome, doesn't feel sluggish. Comparing that to other tanks, there are certain tanks out there, the hero talents don't really work with the fantasy. It's not nice to press, and sometimes it's pointless even pressing it. When it comes to the Protection Warrior, you don't have that problem, especially Mountain Thane. Regardless if you pick Colossus or Mountain Thane, but I've been playing Mountain Thane a lot, and it's nice. Thunderclap turns into Thunder Blast, lightning flying around everywhere, and it just looks amazing. My only criticism is that there's not enough lightning, but you feel like an elemental shaman, and it's really fun. Colossus feels more like a defensive pick. Some of the abilities you have lean into making yourself more bulkier and more tankier, but it's still nice to play. I would pick Mountain Thane over anything, it just looks fun. And if you pick Mountain Thane or Colossus, you won't have a problem. It is worth mentioning, however, with all the defensive toolkit in your arsenal, I still felt a little bit squishy. When I was doing a +3, +4, what I was finding was, when I used all my defensive abilities, I was getting absolutely destroyed by everything around me. And self-healing is a factor in that. Whoa. Let me just stop you there, Bench. I am from the future. Now, before you make this statement, are you 100% sure that you want to annoy an entire class that's been around since the beginning of World of Warcraft, that has a die-hard fan base and knows how to play the game? Are you 100% certain, making this statement, you know how to play Protection Warrior? And it is very possible that I am playing it wrong. It's not a possibility, you are. Now, looking back at the videos, I've noticed that we are overcapping on rage, we are not using shield block and ignore pain properly, and we aren't using our cooldowns effectively. Let me talk about that now. So what we are doing is we are spamming shield block and ignore pain whenever we feel necessary, and we aren't using shield wall effectively. We have talents built in to make sure shield wall is reduced if we use certain abilities, and we have to make sure, after every discussion point we've talked about, we have to make sure that shield block is up all the time. Now right now we're not doing that, so before we make a very heavy statement to say that we are very squishy and our self-healing sucks, learn to play the class. Now let me take over and talk about it. So basically I had a whole section recorded talking about how I felt really squishy as a protection warrior, and the self-healing wasn't great, and also the damage wasn't great. And then looking back, I thought something isn't right, and I feel like I'm playing this class wrong. So I looked at a few guides and I looked at a few forum posts and went into the Skyhold Discord and talked about, do you guys feel squishy when playing protection warrior? And almost every one of them said you're playing it wrong. So I looked into it, and yes, in my content and in my research and playthroughs of the Mythic Plus on the beta, I wasn't keeping shield block up constantly, what are you supposed to. I wasn't keeping ignore pain up to its fullest. I was using revenge mode to try and get some damage out. I wasn't utilizing shield slam, which is our biggest ability, and I was using that ad hoc. In the footage is actually when I learned a little bit more how to play the class, although I'm not 100%, like, I'm not a professional, but what I was doing was I was overcapping on rage. I wasn't utilizing the bonuses of having avatar and shield wall having reduced every time we accumulate rage and also spend the rage, so I was holding off using the defensives and only using them when I really needed them instead of using them proactively. And also I learned that a protection warrior is a mitigation tank. I mitigate the damage, and ignore pain is all about that. I can literally ignore 50% of the pain of the damage, and also I have talents to increase that. So I was playing it completely wrong. And also, up until the very end of the video, I thought rallying cry was still the old commanding shout, where it gave everyone a full like stat 10% buff on their stamina. So I wasn't even using that. I was using that at the beginning of the fight and then not realizing that my buff was still there. So that has been a whole change. So what I've learned is, before I hand back to the past bench, is that make sure you know what you're talking about before you upload content, because I was about to press send to YouTube before something sort of popped out to me and said, make sure you know what you're talking about before you upload it, and that is exactly what I've done. So yeah, I'm going to hand back over to the past bench to round off this video. I am a new tank. I've been playing and testing on the beta for quite a while, but I could still not play it right. But this is just my impression, my first opinion. I would love to know your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. What have you found with the protection warrior? Have you found very much the same as me, or am I just talking utter nonsense? And I think with that, it's actually a really good way to summarize and conclude this video. Protection warrior, all things considered, is fun to play, easy to pick up, it's nice to have around, and it's going to be a top tier tank in the War Within. And if you decide to play protection warrior in the War Within, you will have a thumbs up from me. But anyway, my name is Benchwarmer. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please consider hitting a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, write a comment down below. Are you going to play protection warrior? Are you going to play something else? Do you agree or do you disagree with my coverage? And also, if you want to join a community which is all about new players, bench warmers like me, or anyone in between that likes World of Warcraft, there is a link to the bench Discord in the description. Click on that, you'll be warmly welcomed and have a nice discussion. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one.